anyone sees you, you're
We're
literally
going live,
dead.
by the way.
Okay.
We can keep talking about it, though. So she's like super weak, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
If you play as any of the chicks, dude, outside of the one with the
Zarya.
we'll just call her Zarya. We'll just call her by her name. But I have a much worse name for her when I'm playing against. Hate that
God.
woman. She has so much life. She has more life than Reinhardt. Like, what is her diet? Like,
Her diet
Jeez.
is full of just small children and the dreams of her opponents.
it's so horrible. Like, she could come out and just wreck everything for so long. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what her moves does. She just throws out that pink ball and then everything's just hard.
Yeah, you know what it is because she has her shield, and it has like a cooldown on it, right? And then she has regenerative health with the F. And so what happens is that when she steps away for a second, she's like back to full health, and then she has her shield. So it's just like she's super stacked on her abilities. I agree. Like, she's really good. I like playing her too.
I wish it. No, I don't. I refuse to play as her because I hate her so bad. I just wish they'd get rid of her.
Are you sharing your screen?
Now I am. It should have been on the intro screen, but now it is. People should be able to see. I was just trying to, because like I know there's like about like a 30-second kind of buffer before we start to get people jumping in here,
Yeah.
So I usually just like I'll just let us just chat amongst ourselves about things that are not relative to our conversation, and just so people can see that we're going live, and then also just enjoy a little bit of banter.
Overwatch
little
is
bit of
most
adventure.
relevant.
Yeah, what's up, guys? We got Mama Do. We got David with the E, so David. Then we got Peter. Got good old Nick. Don't trust Nick, guys. Don't trust
Never
him.
trust Nick.
Yep.
Never.
And then we got Terry. We got William Lim, who's in this chat, and Michael Young, who's in this chat. Who else is in this chat? We got Jerry Perkins, my man Jerry. Go ahead and say hello.
Hello.
Okay, cool. All right, that's enough of that. That's all you're allowed to say for the rest of the podcast. So can you knock him out of this chat, please, for us? Thank you.
Okay.
See you later. See you later, Jerry.
Zap is such a delicate balance.
And then who else we got? We got Will, who's just laughing right now. Say what's up, Will.
Yo, what up, guys?
I already said we had Michael Young in here, right? And then we got Miguel. Miguel's in here too, right?
Yeah,
Even
I'm
silence.
Time.
Miguel's super silent. He doesn't want to talk. He's just like,
I'm practicing on the iPad while I'm listening to this.
he's just like, I'm in here, but I will not talk until spoken to. So please, everybody in the chat, make sure to ask questions that are specifically guided to Miguel. So get him engaged.
I haven't played much Overwatch, so I've been delaying any response because I haven't really played too much.
You don't want to be that guy that thinks he knows. He's like, yeah, that Zara.
I'd be like,
Yeah, she's hard. Yeah, she's the one that's the gorilla, right? He's like, all right, get out of here.
I hate him too. He's also horrible.
Winston.
Yo,
You don't like the
Harambe is the
tanks.
shit, bro. Like, I love that guy.
Winston's
He's
great.
just a troll.
Harambe.
He's just a troll gorilla.
Content Gorilla.
Wait, who is?
Robbie's Revenge.
And then we got John's supposed to be in here, but I think he is playing Overwatch as we speak.
He was here. We decided to play video games.
Yeah,
instead.
I was like, "Hey, you gonna join us?" He's like, "Yeah, man, absolutely." And then just
That might have made
silence.
for a more interesting podcast.
If we were just all playing Overwatch.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got it on PC. I can't handle the keyboard and mouse though, but yeah, I try.
Yeah, you see that little Dragon Ball Z meme where they have like a person who's like it's like PC, like they're like the ones that are going super fast, and then like you have like the Xbox and PlayStation people like acting as the other characters. I think it's like Goku fighting like Frieza when they're going super fast or something, and they're PCs, and then you see like all the other characters like, oh, they're going so fast, I can't even keep up, and it's a good reflection, I think, of PC gamers versus console gamers.
I don't know. PC
not-
games are fucking up pretty bad nowadays. They just released Batman from Telltale, and that game was like nine
yeah.
kinds of broken. Only on PC though.
Only on PC.
You know, just like
Interesting.
Batman Arkham Asylum or Arkham Knight, also broken only on PC.
Well, those games were specifically made for consoles, weren't they? And so
Yeah, for some reason lately the PC ports have been all screwy. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's bizarre because usually these builds are built on PC and then they use the dev kit like right away. But I guess there's something in between. But that's the thing about like the beauty of console development is that you can develop for specs that are reliable, right? Like you can what your users are going to be using, right? There's no confusion in development. They're using Xbox One. There's no confusion. They're using the PlayStation 4. We got this. But then you go to PC, it's just like, what are they going to have? What kind of machine are they going to have? You know? Because if you make it so too powerful, then the people that are running on like a Commodore 64, they can't hang out.
People running on the Commodore.
Yeah, who are running on Commodore can't play some Arkham, you know? Versus like the people who are playing on Skynet, you know, like the people who are playing on computers that are like.
It says I need this thing called Windows. What is Windows?
Yeah, so you know, and then you get then you have different operating systems that are also differently spec'd. You know, it's just like I can see that being a nightmare. I mean, back in the day, there was only like really one or two types of computers that people could have, but with all these like different companies like Alienware, for instance, is one of the most popular one. But there's a lot of other like small dev that are becoming like the PC building like websites and stuff like that are like creating super powerful computers, but using all these different kind of components. It's just making it harder. Yeah, it's just making it harder, I guess, for developers. Also for the users, right? Because the users get like much more like epic computers for a much cheaper cost. Well, cheap's relative, but you get what I'm saying, right? But what's good is that Nvidia, for instance, is taking over kind of the whole video card market, like slowly but surely, like game engines, and starting to truly just say, okay, we're just going to use this one, and that more of that's happening. And when you do that, then that's going to be able to bring back kind of that solution that developers are looking for, which is, like what GPU is, or at least can we trust something? And if they can trust the GPU, then they're like, sweet. I know that's what was happening when I was working on the VR company. Like they were like a lot of VR tech was basically saying, okay, we're just going to stick to like one or two video cards, or basically just the Nvidia video cards, because for now it's like it's too difficult to try to cater for every little possible person, So maybe that's what's going on. I don't know.
No little people. Sorry, guys.
Even the Vive, you could talk to people about just how it was hooking up the Vive, and everyone's story is like radically different. Like mine was crazy. Right. Like I turned off my computer and it wouldn't turn back on until I unplugged it. Like what kind of error is that to have with a VR headset? Like how are you supposed to figure that out?
Lawnmower man, dude. You're just like you put on the Vive and then you take it off and you're in Tron world and you're like, what the? I just was trying to install this thing. That's why you disappeared. I was like
trying to show it to a friend too, and it's just like ridiculous. Like, sorry, dude, I don't know why my computer's off and won't turn on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Like, some people were able to set it up within an hour. Other people took 3 hours. Other people took the whole day, right? And my thoughts on VR technology is that I think VR is a long ways before people are really going to adopt it at a very commercial level. I don't mean, and long ways doesn't mean like another 5 or 10 years. Long ways means like another few years, like 2 or 3 years potentially, right? Before you'll start to see the mass market to start taking it very seriously. Because of those reasons, because it's just like, I mean, first of all, not everybody has a computer that can even support the specs that are needed to roll on a Vive, right? Or Oculus. You know what I mean? Let alone the kind of tech savvy you need to be to even install this hardware, right? And so that's like another element. Like that's 2 barriers of entry that are like the worst barriers of entry you want to have for any kind of hardware, right?
It's like 3D.
Yeah, you just don't want that to be the problem that your users are worrying about, which is installation and having the right equipment. Like you just don't want that. as like the reason why your customer base is not using it. But so where do I think VR or 3D VR or like all that stuff, do I think it's like not awesome? Heck no, man. It's freaking amazing. And do I think that there's not a place for it? Obviously no. I think the place is more along the lines of use of professionals. Basically hardware and software that is used for people that are working on the type of stuff that VR is trying to do, right? Like developers should be using VR as tools to create like badass assets. Like imagine like a tool like Blender or any kind of 3D package that was integrated into like the HTC Vive, right? Where you're in the 3D space creating that asset, you know? Now it starts making sense that your user base, because those are the kinds of people that are already kind of tech savvy. They're the kinds of people that are probably going to already have good equipment, good software, right? And they're the kinds of people that are willing to spend thousands of dollars potentially on this hardware, you know, to have that edge of creation. Like if I can like make an asset that's so much cooler because I was in like in the actual 3D space, and trust me, because like when I was messing around with Tilt Brush, I was just like, this is amazing, right? Like this is such a great step in a good direction. And I think developers need to potentially stop creating stuff that are just, you know, one-offs or just like, hey, check out how cool VR is. You know, that's kind of what I think it is right now. I think developers need to start developing stuff like, look at what you can create because of the power of VR. Like you can create these like here's a good scenario for those of you who are still kind of confused by this idea. Imagine that I am a product designer, okay, and I want to design a tennis shoe or something, right? So I'm designing a tennis shoe in like this tennis shoe designing CAD software that exists in VR space. So not only am I able to see the scale of it in real time, right? I can see the scale of it. I can rotate around it. I can see the materials, all that stuff in real time, and in real scale. Like I can see how big the shoe actually is, and then I can say, okay, in VR there might be a 3D print option, and I have my computer or my experience plugged into a 3D printer. Hit print, then moments later I have a 3D printed to scale model of my my asset that I created in that space, right? And more. Now that that's a small scale, that's something that I see people could do right now. Like, what about a bicycle? Or what about a car? What about, like, the cockpit of a spaceship? Right? Like, a designer now can design in scale, and then they can create the assets in scale using really a powerful 3D printing technology. Right? Because these are people that can use it, right? Like, a normal dude in his garage who just spent his life savings to just get this thing, is only going to play those games for a little bit, But if you put it in the hands of an inventor or a creator or an entrepreneur or someone who's want to make some creative things that could potentially be real, this is a necessity, right? And they're not gonna squander that ability if they can create something cool. In fact, I think that's why they started rewiring their marketing around UX, like user experience, and like the tools of that experience, versus just like, look, you could throw a frisbee, like it's like
so lame,
dude. Like I could throw a frisbee in real life,
Right.
There's a
wasn't there like the program that did like the motorcycle augmented reality? Like they were designing a motorcycle.
Yeah,
that's all the
HoloLens.
HoloLens nonsense. Like I'd have to put one of those on. Microsoft I ain't gonna believe them until I put it on.
By the way,
Yeah, but, the principle is the same. Right?
I've messed with the HoloLens, and it's pretty accurate to what they're proposing. It's
so you Minecraft. That's all you really want to think about here.
so
I don't know if I'd want to project reality on my walls. Like I definitely would rather get away from this reality than to augment it, because like I like going to VR and being in my little world that I actually made, instead of looking at the world that I'm already in augmented with extra stuff.
Yeah, I get that, but see, that's what I'm saying. Like VR is made for users like you. Augmented reality is more for everyone else, actually. For now. it's it's a very similar thing that, because I've been researching a lot of board games and like card games and stuff recently, and there was a really interesting point that was being made about how the card game industry is blowing up, right? Both the online and the actual physical ones, right? And they said it's because of a very simple truth that a lot of people that are this next generation of people, including ourselves, the ones that are still around, grew up on card games and grew up on this type of like idea and mechanics, right? And the next generation of gamers, for instance, the ones that are like taking social games, are also evolving their know-how, right? So you think of like the kids who play League of Legends, for instance. Like a lot of these kids and adults, have had experiences of games and tools that are actually prepared them to accept a game like League of Legends. You get it? Because like they understood basic RPG mechanics, they understood basic strategy mechanics. Then you make a game like League of Legends that's just not as like nerdy as some of these more popular games, but not as like shallow as well, right? It has enough elements in there that people found the beauty of it, right? And that's why that game is huge. It's a huge market for it because there's like a lot of opportunity from kids who grew up knowing that video games exist. Think of it like when we were growing up, a lot of the video games that we have today just did not exist, right? I remember like when I remember when I was like young, my friend's older brother would charge us $5 an hour to play Mario 64.
$5 an hour.
Yo, that's ghetto.
Damn. Dude.
But at the time, it made sense. It was like, this is like the future, right? Like we need to experience the future. I remember we used to play Power Stone at the little, like there was like a local game store, and we'd play Power Stone for like 4 hours straight. We wouldn't leave, and they're like, "Get out!" They're like, "No." I was like, "We'll buy some candy." Now we're customers. And then
I totally got that on my tablet.
Yeah, and so, but then now look at like my kids, for instance, they are already like video game very video game literate. For instance, like my son was playing Angry Birds Epic, which is basically a turn-based RPG game. He gets it. He was murdering these little pigs in order and using some strategy. And then like my daughter, who's only 4, was playing Smash Brothers, and she understood the concept of moving left to right, up and down, and punching the crap out of her little brother. She understood that. Right? Like that Smash Brothers wasn't introduced to me until I was like in my teens. You know what I mean? Like this idea of 4-player like co-op combat, like that's just not, that wasn't a thing. And so my point is that, like, going back to this whole augmented reality, VR, all this stuff, is that that technology is just too new, right? We just got people accepting of a technology like the smartphone. You know what I mean? Like, where everybody can put some... They don't realize, a lot of people don't understand the powerful tool that they have in their pocket, Some people still don't understand how powerful that tool is, but they understand that they have that tool and how it works. They understand the basic mechanics. And same thing with the card game industry, like, Hearthstone got extremely popular because, again, a lot of our user base were people who understood games like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering, They're video game literate. And so now we just need to get people like augmented / virtual reality literate. And I think games like Pokemon Go are like the first step in that right direction. There's another game where it's like an FPS where you can put like a little thing on your phone, and it acts like a laser tag device now. So you can basically shoot your friends, with a laser tag type device that uses your phone as the actual the thing that you shoot at, right? Now imagine taking that same technology, people say, okay, well, why don't we put like a vest on them, put that phone in like a gun, like a toy gun that uses, like, you imagine like the scope would be where you place your phone, you know what I'm saying? But it's like a gun, and it's using the camera, and you're just like, dope. So you can actually feel like you're shooting at your friends, right? Using this augmented reality. And I think that will then start to train people to understand that there's an experience that combines both reality and technology, right? And then you can start introducing. But what if you wanted to go to a completely new world? Like you've already accepted that the outside world can be combined with the technology, but now let's combine this idea of like leaving your world entirely, like you were saying, but people like us, and there's always gonna be that audience, right, who are a little bit more spaced out and like, oh, dude, right on to techno, and sees the potential almost immediately, right? Like games like Magic the Gathering, for instance, was a very niche game. You know what I mean? This very niche genre of thing that only a very niche group of people actually played. And then it blew up, and it kept blowing up, and it kept blowing up. But even then, it was still niche around the scope of the world. But now it's like, you look at games like Hearthstone, and now you look at games like Magic the Gathering. It's just like you got millions and millions of people interested in this thing. So I think like the same thing's going to happen with all this augmented reality stuff, which is cool. I think it's going to start with augmented reality, and then virtual reality, and then reality, or what it will basically be that we don't know the difference between technology and real life. We'll all just be.
When people start dying in it, then it'll take off.
Then we'll be in a hive mind. We'll just all be
like 8 kids died in virtual reality. That shit'll sell out.
Just waiting for that day whenever you're going to log on to FPS and be contrling the drones that are killing real people.
No.
That'll be
like that.
Yo,
Like
that just took a spin for the dark side.
like the
no.
There's a
It
short.
went dark so fast.
There's a short.
Tony
Yeah.
Jones here. Make sure you get your water filter.
There's a short film called Uncanny Valley that talks about that idea.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, but everyone got depressed instead.
Yeah, I mean,
It made me think of
Anyway.
Arrested Development again.
No.
Oh man.
Anyway, I'm joking. I don't actually want that.
yeah,
I
you
actually
do.
want a terrible dystopian future.
You do. Oh man.
Yeah.
You're
They make
vo-
all the cool movies in those.
Yeah, a lot of the movies are based off of that. Like all of our terrible ideas of the future is always reflected of the technology taking over. Right? I saw someone post a comment on this thing that this guy did. Basically, he implanted a chip in his arm, and then he was able to spend
yeah.
money. He was able to spend money using this chip. Like basically, he put his hand up against like the Apple Pay kind of thing, where you can put your phone or whatever, or like up to a thing and it registers it. So he puts this chip in his hand. He programs the chip to basically act as one of those readers, and then just was paying stuff with his hands. And then someone's like, "Nope, I don't want that. I don't want that feature." And the reality is, like, you kind of already have it. You might not realize it.
That's just old people, dude.
Yeah, you might not realize it. Like, the fact that you are not spending money anymore using credit cards is the first step in that direction, right? You know, you think, like, augmenting your body is like is a strange thing, but there's people who pierce their body for no reason, for no practical reason, right, other than for cosmetics, you know? And I'm not talking about, like, those strange. I'm talking about just everyday people pierce their body, right?
Got gauges.
Yeah, and then there's people who to change their body in terms of, like, you know, plastic surgery, or in terms of tattoos, right? It's like this types of stuff already exists, and there's no attachment to it other than cosmetic. So yeah, I mean, like once someone says, "Hey, you can wear this chip in your hand, and it's basically be your ID, be your wallet," right? You know, and you can make it super secure. Like if people can't use it unless it's connected to your DNA, so people aren't going to jack you, you know, because it wouldn't matter, right? Like if people are like, "Oh, steal his hand and pay for stuff," like that'd be the most extreme case. But even then, people just wouldn't. You can't just go up to a cash register with a decapitated hand and be like, "Yeah, I want to pay for this $1,000 Rolex," and they'd be like, no.
I would run such a store.
Yeah.
I would take heads.
You take like the physical, the disembodiment of people's bodies. Like, yeah, I'm cool with that.
If that hand has credit, bring it here.
If that hand.
Yeah,
Bring
I
that.
don't care
hand
where you
back
got
here.
it from.
you know, like I had a conversation with somebody about this, and we're like, you know, the future is now. We're already living in it. Like, there's no running from it. Like, we're already in it. We're like every day, there's an innovation or a new product or a new tool or a new invention that's just stepping us forward as humanity. The problem is that we're still like doing stupid stuff like not getting along, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We still have stupid things like that. Like once those things go away, then we'll be interstellar traveling species, and I'm looking forward to that. It's just like statistically and historically going to make, like we're going in that direction. It's just hard to see it in the moment because we're in it, you know? It's hard to see, but like the numbers are in our favor. The reality is just like how fast can we get there? Because the Earth, regardless of how well we're getting along, the Earth doesn't give a crap, you know? The Earth's like, yeah, that's cool and all, but like you guys are still emitting way too much carbon up in this atmosphere. So I'm just gonna just, I'm gonna do a balance check on the planet. We're just gonna hit the reset button real fast, Like it's not that we're destroying our planet. This is our planet's just preparing to destroy us, It's like, all right, because after the worst that could happen from all this climate change, the Earth will be absolutely fine. The Earth has been through even harsher conditions, It'll be totally fine. It's us who are really in trouble, We're the ones who are just like, can we survive in like a non-stop winter, I don't know.
Winter is coming.
Yeah, in the realest of ways.
The final winter is coming.
I mean, and that could be the thing that we need, right? Like the catalyst that tips us over, right? And then we all say, yeah, all that stuff, like those borders and stuff that we had before. Like, nope. Like, we should totally get our act together now, because look what happened.
That'd be great if all our continents just crashed into each other.
Yeah, and we're just like, oh yeah,
just have
That's a full reset.
yeah,
yeah. You're all friends again. Kiss and make up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just in the cards.
It would
for
be like
us.
no one alive if that happened. It's like continents crash into each other.
Well,
You're all friends again. No one's
We
here.
make it a slow speed collision,
Oh, okay, that's like...
not overnight.
Yeah, it's not like Superman grabbing the Earth and say, you know what, I'm gonna stop it from spinning, and just grabs
It's
it.
like in the movie, whenever like that machine was just like drilling the Earth and destroying gravity.
Oh yeah, in the latest Superman movie.
Just terraforming the Earth.
Yeah,
Absolutely murdering.
It's such a silly thing to do if you think about like that movie in retrospect. Because like, first of all, why? Because it's not radioactive. Like,
Wait, you mean the whole movie the movie exists was a silly thing to do, or what happened?
no,
in the
like
movie?
their logic, the logic behind why they were terraforming in the first place. Like why? Because it's not like home. It's better than home. You can fly. You can fly and shoot lasers out of your eyeballs.
Oh yeah, that didn't make any sense. Why,
Yeah.
why would they be like, we're imbued with godlike powers? Let's make it exactly the way it used to be.
Imagine like showing up to a planet as a human, right? Let's say we went to the moon and we found out on the moon that we could have X-ray vision. We could pick up rocks as big as like mountains and throw them like they're freaking basketballs, And we could fly. Like for somehow have some sort of biological ability to now control the location of our body, an XYZ location. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like Superman had to use like science to fly, right? Like he wasn't like, okay, like an airplane where he has to get some speed and puts his arms out and he just starts to like, use lift and like fly in only one direction effectively, or like a helicopter using propellers, like he has to like spin his tongue around so he's like flying around like a helicopter. No, he can like he can like float.
Women would love that.
Yeah, he can float. He can jump up, down, left, right. Like it makes no sense. It's like literally magic. And like we show up to that planet and be like, you know what? It's not like home. Better terraform this place so that way we can't fly and have. It was a silly thing, and I was laughing.
It was like the environment was so. Yeah, they were arguing the environment was so healthful that it causes them these superpowers. They're like, no, we need that shitty atmosphere back so we can completely destroy our bodies.
Yeah, because when
Look
Superman,
at me, I'm translating myself on the Z-axis.
yeah,
Be the
because
nerdiest superhero ever.
yeah, because think about what Superman had to go onto the ship and he was getting sick, right? Because he was like sucking into the radiation of Krypton. And it's like, they should be like, dude, like, did you see that? Like, we were flying, dude. That's cool. And it was like Zod got used to it really quickly too. He was like, all right, this wasn't so bad. You know, I get if you're like a kid trying to deal with this, it might be weird, but I get it. Flying, it's cool. Anyway, getting back to the topics at hand that I wanted to talk about. So there's something really cool that happened recently. I'll let Michael talk about it because I haven't heard you talk.
Oh, I've been muted. You know, I'm trying to get that better. You know, not the background or whatever.
No,
Anyway,
there is no background actually. It's like
Oh.
super crisp. Before it was like that, but now I don't know what you did, but you did the Jerry Perkins. You just like used your grandma's mic, and it works better than your $700 mic.
Good old grandma.
Yeah, but that's the same thing with me. Like I have like this $100 mic that I'm not using. I'm using my headphones because for whatever reason it's just
Oh,
better.
for real?
Yeah.
What? Anyway, okay, so in the chat, if anybody hasn't heard of it, there was something's going pretty viral. It's pretty much an indie game made by one person. And this one person, his name is Bing Yang. I'll put a link in the chat.
Yeah, and I'll try to put a link in the actual topic. I'll re-edit the topic to put the link in there.
Yeah, sounds good.
So that people don't have to dig through the comments to find it. For whoever's looking at this later. Anyways. What were you saying, Jerry? You were saying something?
About what?
Someone says a word and then interrupted Mike. And I believe it was
And
you.
no, it's all good.
Poor Mike, dude. He's just trying to say
I'm
some
just
words.
trying to help people. No. Anyway, I mean, there's not really too much information out there. I mean, it's blowing up. Everyone's talking about it. The guy made it in Unreal in the span of 2 years. And last night, I found him on Facebook, so I sent him a friend request, and he actually accepted it. And he posted it on Facebook, addressing all of his Facebook friends, pretty much saying something along the lines of like, sorry, I disappeared. There's some things he needs to think about because it's blown up. He's been getting approached by studios promising him riches and like a team to work on his stuff. Pretty much trying to turn it from what he did, an indie game, into like some really, really big project, which you could say is really cool, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but because he got so far on his own, you could imagine that, you know, he had to sacrifice a lot to get there. And that's exactly what he said, is that he's been sacrificing his health and his sanity. He's lost relationships, and he's not really sure if he wants to commit to another like 5 years of development on this project.
What's up, guys?
Whatever,
John?
John. Get out of here.
Whatever, John.
Coming in here, like, ruining the show. Poor Michael. He's just trying to talk, man. I'm trying to get him.
Every time.
Interrupting, man.
And he's got a better mic than you too. So much better
Does
than
he?
you.
Is my mic shitty?
Yeah, your mic's shitty.
Oh no.
All right, continue, Mike.
But yeah, to kind of wrap that point up, on his Facebook, for what I saw, he was getting bombarded with comments at the moment that he posted that. I'm sure everyone's like all over him. But they were spanning from people saying like, yo, suck it up. You know what I mean? Like, suck it up and just get it done, man. This is a great opportunity. Don't ruin it. You know, like the worst advice you should ever give anyone. And I was like, you guys are really going to say that to the guy? Like, What the hell? But then there were people like me that kind of had common sense. And I wrote a little nice piece, was like, hey man, you know, you've inspired the whole industry. People are like thinking, wow, if he could do it, I could do it. And that's powerful. No matter what, if you decide to join a studio and get a team and really go forward with this, it's not going to take away from how far you got on your own, right? But ultimately, pay attention to your health and your sanity first, because that's the most important.
Is it just a demo, or is it like not a full thing?
See, I don't know. I mean, if you look at the video, it looks like a full game. Like that's what the appeal is.
That's what I figured. So like, I thought like they're basically saying like to continue the franchise. I'm assuming like.
Yeah, I don't.
Like,
that's what I'm not sure about. Like, you spent 2 years and this is like a trailer, so maybe it's like not.
It could be like a
yet,
vertical
but it's close to
slice.
done.
Like it's like it has a lot of, like it's fundamentally working, but it's not done. You know.
Exactly.
Like it's,
you know what?
It's a vertical slice. That's what they would call it.
The same kind of thing you'd take to like what do you call it, E3 or whatever, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So for those of you who aren't sure what a vertical slice is, or the minimum viable product, the MVP.
So when you cut the pie wrong, guys. Gotta slice that thing horizontally.
Yeah, vertical slice is where you grab all the things you own and you cut it vertically.
Just destroy everything you own.
Just in a really large pile out back.
That's exactly what it is.
Sorry, continue.
But the real term, not the Urban Dictionary version, the real term is something used in the industry to help people understand what the heck they're making, right? Because a lot of times what happens is people will say, "Oh, we're making this game. It's kind of like this and it's kind of like that. It's like Skyrim meets Star Wars Battlefield or Battlefront mixed with like Dance Dance Revolution." And you're just like, what? And so the vertical slice solves that problem of like, it's like Overwatch, for instance, is like Street Fighter meets Team Fortress.
Pretty much.
Right? And it's like, oh, okay, I don't know how that works. And then you're like, oh, this is how it works. And you play like one level of Overwatch with maybe a few characters, and you get it. And you're like, oh, okay, because like Street Fighter, in the sense that like there's a sense of combos and character personality, you know. And Team Fortress, because there's an element of like, it's not just a shooter where you just shoot at people. Like you actually have to work together mostly, right? And so it's like that's what a vertical slice is supposed to do. Basically, a better example of that would be if you were to ever play a demo of a game, like on the Xbox or the PlayStation, right? Like if you were to say, I want to play Overwatch, and they only have like a demo of it, then that would technically be considered a vertical slice, or like that's like enough. Like that first 10 to 15 minutes of a game that you play would be like a vertical slice. You know? It's like pretty much what you would expect the rest of the game to potentially be. And so what I think that guy did is pretty much made that, right? Like he made like this Devil May Cry kind of open world adventure game, right? And that's what it looked like, and that's what it like seemed like. You know?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much he was like, I'm sure he didn't expect it to blow up like anybody else, right? He put it out there and was like, hey, look, guys, this is what I did with the past 2 years. And I think the appeal, one, is because, one, it looks cool, right? I mean, if you watch the trailer, I mean, everyone has different strokes for different folks, right? Like, maybe people aren't into that kind of game. But you got to admit, like, graphics-wise and gameplay, it looks appealing. But really, what gets people is the fact that it was made by one person. And that's what's different.
I read in the comics too, Eric wrote, like, apparently a lot of the stuff was made from the asset store. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, creating all those assets alone would take a year or so. But so, I'm sure, like, maybe the characters weren't, right? But, like, even if the characters were, it still takes a lot of effort.
I mean, is he going to make all the trees?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you don't need to do, right? Like, that's, like, the value of having an asset store is, like, not to build, like, a tree.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
right?
like if you
Exactly.
don't, if it's only, like, a tertiary detail of your whole game. I mean, I got it, like, if I was paying somebody $40 or $50 an hour, whatever, to develop that box, and it'll take them 10 hours to do, then it's actually much cheaper, isn't it, all of a sudden, to just buy a box, you know, that will suit our needs.
You could totally say the same thing about, like, any of the audio, right? Like, some of the background music, maybe he's not a sound engineer.
Yeah,
maybe he went and bought some working tracks.
Consolidated.
I mean, that's totally fair.
Consolidated his efforts to probably the programming, right? And so,
yeah.
So anyway, getting back to that guy, and like one thing that I would think that would be good to talk about is that the reason why I think people are just like, suck it up, because some people just wish they had those opportunities, and the reality is you can create that opportunity the same way he did,
Yeah.
It didn't take him overnight. It took him 2 years and lost relationships and health, It had a cost. And he's asking himself, but do I want to continue that cost, right? And some people genuinely don't understand that. Because, for instance, there was the guy who made Flappy Birds, right?
Oh, yeah. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, remember the Flappy Birds guy? Now, he's a great example of the same thing. He was developing games, and I think he still is developing games. But he was developing games for years, right? And then he made Flappy Birds. And for whatever reason, Flappy Birds just people loved it and also hated it, right? And he got approached very similarly to the aspects of this guy's being attacked by, right? Like, and he was getting hate mail as well as praise mail, right? He was getting a lot of attention, and he decided, hey, look, I'm going to cancel Flappy Birds, and I'm not going to develop, I'm not going to work on it anymore, and I'm going to make, nobody needs to buy it. It's going to be completely gone. You can't get it, you know? And, you know, there was reports that he was making about $50,000 a day on ad revenue alone, right?
Which is insane.
Which is insane. And he decided to quit all that because he didn't like that. He didn't like the amount of attention he was getting. He didn't want that. He just wanted to make a reasonable living from the games he was making, and he wanted to just do it in a very earnest way. He didn't want to have to deal with millions of people, right? Now, he should have understood the risks of that, like if you put on a platform that allows that to happen, you know. But I don't think he made that game like it was like a day or something, right? He was just like, this is going to be a cute little game where it's just you just try to jump over through pipes. That's it, right? And I'm going to put it out there and I'll make a couple bucks and move on in my life. And it blew up, right? And he got all that attention, and he backed out, and people thought he was crazy. They're just like, are you freaking crazy? You know? Like, how dare you, like, back out? And he said, well, it's because I didn't want to have to keep responding to so many emails. I didn't want to keep, like, doing customer support for so many people. He's like, this is just me, one person, you know? He's like, I just want to keep making games, you know? And I don't want to get, like, constant amounts of flack. Now, he could have approached it many different ways, but the approach that he felt was the best was to completely abandon it. And reason why is because he didn't really care about the money. You know, he said it was enough that he bought himself a modest house for him and his family, right? And I don't mean like his like wife or anything. It was like his mom, right? And for them to live in like a modest living. You know, it was a little bit more than modest, I guess, for where they were living, but it would be considered super modest everywhere else, right? Like especially from American standards.
Yeah.
And he just went back to developing games for himself, right? And a lot of people just still don't understand that. Like, they don't understand, like, well, you make all this money. Like, why don't you just go and keep doing that and keep making it? And it's like, because sometimes that's not the solution, right? Money is not the thing that's going to make you happy. Because if he keeps making games like that just to supply that need, you know, it's a whole different beast, right? There is the same problem that companies like that are making the Star Citizen game, you know, they're running into the very similar problem, and they're a major team, right? But they're still working on that project, right? Star Citizen, and the promises are only getting greater and greater, you know. And some people are starting to think maybe there is never going to be a Star Citizen, you know, because it's just it's too crazy. And if it ever does come out, and if it lives up to his expectations, then that'll be freaking amazing, right? But it's like, but think about what those guys, those people who are working on that game right now, like the struggle they're going through to accomplish this, you know? Think about all the hard work that had to go into making a game like Last Guardian. Last Guardian, they had to take some real steps backwards to start taking steps forwards because the development was like a slug, you know? Their investors were like, what's going on? We have a company over here making games every other year, which is Naughty Dog, right? And they're making blockbuster games, and then you guys have been working on the same game, you know? And we don't even know if it's actually any good, you know?
Yeah.
You see this happen a lot in the game industry, like underneath the hood, that is. You don't see it on the surface until they go under, or they go bankrupt, or they like let go of hundreds of, you know, employees or thousands of employees. And you're like, what happened? Like, those idiots? It's like, no, it adds up, man. You just don't see it until it's too late, until it's like the end of times. And that's kind of like this guy, which I think is really interesting. I think he has the foresight to see that could happen to him, right? Like, he takes on these deals, but now, like, something that he was doing for himself, something that may have took a lot of time out of him, it was okay if he stopped. Like, if he decided to stop one day, nobody would have cared, and he would have just said, hey, look at this cool thing I made. Like, I'm totally good at making things, you know? But now it's like if he, like, says, let's say Sony is backing this deal, or Microsoft or any other company. Now he has people that he has to be accountable to, right? And he might
responsible for.
Yeah, and
right?
he might not. Yeah, and he might not do a good job.
Exactly.
He might have millions of dollars, and everyone's just impressed by the idea that this one guy could probably make an amazing game. But maybe the game that he made even now isn't the best game, and he might even think that himself, right? He might think, like, I get like why people are excited, but like I don't know if I could actually make a great game, and it might take another 2 or 3 years of my life, even if with all that money and all that support, you know. I mean, look what happened with Konami, right? Like, oh, how the mighty have fallen, you know?
Konami.
Yeah, I mean, just because,
Yep.
you know, just because doesn't mean it will be, right? And, well, yeah, I mean, you know, Kojima is working on a game right now, and nobody knows what the hell it is. But, you know, we trust that he will probably make something good. But he has that added pressure now, right, of being Kojima, right? It's like what's going on with like Pixar. Pixar had the same similar issues going on in the beginning, but now I think they're trying to get back in their groove. Disney too, right? Disney's like, dude, they're on top of the world right now.
They're killing it.
They like own everything.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
What's up, John?
Oh yeah, that's right, John.
You like just get back on or what?
I'm sorry. No, I haven't been part of the conversation. Wanted to say hi.
Okay.
How you
What do
been?
you got to add, John?
I was gonna say, I think it's really cool that like the whole idea that we could play video games while they're in development, right? Like Star Citizen.
Yeah.
And we're like part of the game nowadays is like being a developer with the developer and playing the game as it's getting developed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Especially,
actually that's actually a very popular thing. What the? I hear
Especially
people dying in the
multiplayer.
background.
my roommate's playing the game that you did. What's it called? God of War.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
But yeah, I was just gonna say that you know, like part of the game is like creating the game, especially multiplayer games. Hold on. I didn't think it was gonna pick up, but
Super
yeah,
loud.
I just think it's an interesting point, just how like technology is able to you know, release updates nowadays as
Yeah.
we're playing them. You know, like changing the like Star Citizen's a great example because they're like adding vehicles, they're adding different environments, different planets and stuff. And people who are funding the game get to play it firsthand. And, you know, I just think that's awesome.
Absolutely. That's
Anyway.
like that's actually the positive side of
Yeah.
all this, right? Because I think John's right about that. But you look at like, for instance, Hearthstone, which I thought was really cool. They actually have the developers constantly talking back and forth with the gamers, and I think that's a really powerful tool. Like, why not use that? Why not engage in that way and develop a better game? You know? And I think it's really cool to see. I think John's right about that. There's an opportunity that this guy could probably say, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to make a good game, but I'm going to start making people play this game. I'm not going to keep it hidden. I'm going to start making people join in on the adventure, you know? And that could be a really great solution, because then if people play it and, hey, you know, why don't you try this? Then he's outsourcing the help a little bit, right, of game testing
Exactly.
it. And people will be more on of a supportive angle versus just like, all right, well, let's not hear from you for another 2 years and hope for
Right.
the best.
I think that'd be a great idea for him to develop the game further, is just getting feedback from
community.
people playing it, yeah.
Get feedback from
That's
people
so
that support
powerful.
you. Yeah,
Mm.
I think so. I agree with this. I agree with this statement.
You know, another interesting thing that I noticed about it. Well, first of all, I want to also mention that there's a similarity here between what Bing Yang is doing and what had happened with Notch, the guy who made Minecraft, right? Because he got so successful with his project and got to a point where he couldn't handle it himself at the high end, and sold everything to Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
So he could just lay back and chill. I think he's still making stuff too. But yeah, I think that's widely documented. People know about that. But what I find really interesting is that Bing put out this game and this trailer, and there's not like a coming soon to Kickstarter, you know, kind of thing
Yeah.
spin on it, right? He's just like, hey, I made a thing, and like he wasn't trying to ask for money, he wasn't trying to ask for help. Yet this is what he's being approached by, which is better than Kickstarter, is actual studios saying, "Hey, we want to be a part of this," and he's gonna have to figure out what he wants to do. You know, I still firmly think that your health is more important, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, Notch is a good example because Notch gave up everything, and he was going through some real issues too. And it was, like you said, documented. It was all on Twitter, actually. He kind of was like going on and on. And funny enough, there was another like wealthy person, and he wrote, "Don't worry, it will pass." Like, this is just what happens. Which is like a very sad thing to say. So, like the thing that you thought was going to be like the thing that was going to bring you happiness is not going to bring you happiness. Don't worry, it happens to all of us. Jim Carrey said it, right? Like, really, I think the best.
Right.
He said, I wish everybody can achieve their dreams and goals the way they imagined it, just so they can see that that's not the answer. And I was like, whoa, what? Jim Carrey? And Jim Carrey's a great example because he made some really significant life choices. Will Smith, he did a really powerful interview that I saw where he took like a long hiatus, right, for making movies, and he came back and he talked about why. He said, there was a point where I realized that my mentality about making movies was win. Like, I needed to win at everything. I needed to be a winner. And because I wasn't winning, it brought me a lot of devastation. I felt very frustrated. I felt very sad. And he said, so I refocused, realigned my goals. And he said, one of the things that he did to realign his goals, he said, I'm going to realign it to stop worrying about what I'm going to do, like the power that I have. And I just hear someone's laughing.
No, because he just came out in Suicide Squad.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, of course. And it's probably, what happened with that is that Margot, person who played Harley Quinn.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah, Margot. She's great. I bet it's because like they're friends, and then she's like, "Oh, you gotta be in this movie with me," And he's like, "All right, sure." I bet you that's like part of it, because they did a movie Focus together. And
That
remember,
movie's getting a lot of hate, but everyone's saying that Will Smith is the best part, so I guess he did win, right?
but here's the point.
Interesting. Yeah.
Here's the point. Like he doesn't do movies like that anymore, right? Like he hasn't done them in a while. And the reason why he said is that he wanted to start making movies that, or he said he has this opportunity to help people, right? And that's what he started refocusing all of his attention on, was helping others, right? He says, like all the things that I was doing was for myself, and he said all the things I started to do from now on, it's for other people, and that's really interesting. Yeah, and then he's coming out in Suicide Squad. It's like it's supposed to be a blockbuster hit movie. I mean, I don't think he's not allowed to do something like that after saying something what he said before. But my point is, I think he said, I'm not going to make other like movies like Independence Day or like these just action-filled movies, only. I think he pretty much made a statement like, I want to make other movies. Like Concussion's a good example of a movie that he made that I thought was great, where it was bringing attention to a really terrible thing that was going on in the NFL. And so, yeah, and I've always been a big fan of Will Smith. I think he has the kind of personality that people love, right? Like he's something about him, like you can tell he's genuine, and that's probably why people love him in his movies usually, even if he's in like really bad movies. Like he's one of those, like unlike M. Night Shyamalan, right? Where he just keeps making bad movies and people are starting to get mad. Just like, how come? Right, there's like that new movie that's coming out that I was like, oh, this movie looks great. And then at the end it says M. Night Shyamalan, and I was just like, oh, I don't know anymore. It's like, that's like crazy that could happen. That like, that's how bad it is now, right? That I just can't trust it. Because there's like, I was like, well, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one where he's coming back, and then he just does not come back, and I'm like, oh.
Back when he was really popular, he kept saying he didn't want to be the guy that does suspense thrillers, and he was like really good at suspense thrillers, and then he started doing all the non-suspense thrillers, and he wasn't so good at those. Yeah,
but, so I actually have admiration for that, if that's true, if that's what he said, because then that means that he's trying to grow. But he has to probably understand that maybe he should start with smaller budgets, so that way if it's a flop, it's like, because think about it like this, like he made 6 cents on a very reasonable budget, right? And like what happens sometimes is that some of these really great acclaimed people all of a sudden get like that extra kick, and then they think, oh, I can do this now, I can do that now, I can do this. No, everything takes effort, man. Just because you can make good suspense movies doesn't mean you can make good movies, right? Like I know Kubrick is a great example of this, because Kubrick would never take things for granted, right? He's like, I don't know how to make this type of movie, and he'll spend years just researching and understanding that kind of movie, right? The same thing with Nolan. Nolan, I think, does a good job of that too. He'll take like years just trying to understand a concept behind his movie, right? I think the only time he made a movie back to back to back was like the Batman trilogy, but that's because he kind of figured it out. He's like, oh, this is just a franchise. People are just going to go watch it because it's Batman, right? And so you could tell even with the last one, he's just like, I'm just going to get this done and move on to cooler movies. Right? I want to get back to making movies that I like to make. And so, because there's like new ones coming out. It's like Dirt, Rick, Dirt,
What?
What?
Dunkirk.
Yeah, Dirt. Yeah, it looks great already, man. I was like, whoa.
What movie you're talking? Dunkirk?
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it's like a famous battle in World War II, the British Army.
Anywho, any thoughts from anybody else on the subject matter? Jerry, are you still here? You die? He put on the Vive.
No, I'm still here, dude.
He's getting work done.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know if you see
What's
it.
you all
He's over
talking
here
about?
And then, what about you, Will? Your thoughts?
I'm here, but I'm a little bit distracted. I think I actually got to head out for a bit.
I was going to head
Sorry.
out right now, actually, too. That's why I'm just trying to get everyone's last final thoughts.
Oh,
Anywho, it's all good. You can bounce out right now.
all right.
I appreciate everybody. Thanks for everyone who joined in on this little podcast moment, hanging out, doing some work, talking about
sorry, I
cool
was
stuff.
late.
It's all right,
You
Joe.
gonna go watch Suicide Squad?
Am I gonna watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The critics are, these critics are crazy. They're out of control now. They
Yeah,
attack
it's
things
kinda-
before it even comes out.
It's pretty crazy, yeah. Actually, because I saw the Ghostbusters movie last night, and it was all right. It wasn't bad at all. I was like,
I wouldn't go that far.
It wasn't. It really wasn't. I mean, like,
Go that far.
it just wasn't. Like I think people just really wanted to hate it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like extreme. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Like, if you're comparing it to the old Ghostbusters movie, I mean, even the old Ghostbuster movies is kind of silly, right? It's just kind of like my point of view on this is that they didn't really need to make a Ghostbusters movie with these actresses. They could have made it some other subject, like they're hunting vampires. I think it would have been, people would have probably taken it way more, like, with a lot more love. And they should have just put a lot more humor, because these chicks are, like, hilarious, man. That was great.
People would have loved it if it was a new IP. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think if they would have just made something else and just not put
Ghost
Ghostbusters.
Hunters.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, like, they
attached
didn't.
that. They attach that known title, and then there's expectations that they suddenly have to meet.
Yeah.
It's like a Ninja Turtle situation. The original subject matter was not worth it anyways. I mean, because it was, silly.
It's
Can't
silly.
remake the Ninja Turtles in any way and make them cool because they're big-ass turtles.
Yeah.
The biggest impact that AJ had on watching movies that are like remakes and stuff is the fact that it's for a new generation in a sense. It's for like a younger generation, and if they think it's popular, and they're making money off that, then that's successful, right?
Yeah, it's like thinking about it. Yeah, if you're thinking about it like that, then this makes more sense. If you're thinking about it like, why this movie better be as good as when I remember it, like, that's nostalgia talking.
But in terms of like, what caters to me at this age, it doesn't at all. Neither does Ninja Turtles. So It's just
I'm waiting for the DuckTales remake. I'll go watch that in theaters.
just
Well,
a trip.
there's a new show coming. It's in development.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I am.
Either that or the live action Tailspin.
Oh no.
Bill
Oh,
Murray
man, it's all
as
about
Baloo.
Darkwing Duck, yo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about Darkwing Duck?
Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, I mean,
Darkwing Duck could actually sell some tickets, though.
For real.
Even as a video game, Darkwing Duck would be all right.
You know-
he was.
you know
he
what
could be
franchise?
rethought.
You know what franchise would kill it? I think if they were to remake it, like as a live action, Gargoyles. I think that would be freaking.
yeah.
I think it's because it's obscure enough that people won't entirely remember what it was, right? Like a new generation, people won't understand. Like, what? Where is this coming from? But then the people like us can be like, yeah, that's awesome.
The
right?
plot was kind of deep for a kids show.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. That's my point. Like, it was, and it's not too bonkers, right? Like, it's like, yeah, these gargoyles come out of life. Like, they come alive at night. It's like this cool idea that's not a bonkers, like, it's not like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And the name itself is already ridiculous. Like, everything in the name is like, there's no combination that makes sense. Like,
Might as well add Cowabunga in
yeah,
there.
and then they say Cowabunga, they eat pizza. Like, these turtles' favorite dish is pizza. You know, they have
That's
New York
the
accents.
But the weird part about so every generation has a different idea of the turtles. So like an older generation than us thinks of the actual black and white comics, which they didn't have the color coded belts and like they weren't as silly as we remember them. And then
Yeah. So,
some people remember like the new Ninja Turtles from like 2012 or 2009 or 8. It was a Nickelodeon series,
Yeah.
and they
Those
went
weren't
back.
that bad.
No, there was a Fox one, and then there was a Nickelodeon one.
And then some people remember the live action Power Ranger style Ninja Turtles with the female turtle.
Yep.
Yo, what about Static Shock? Anybody remember that show?
I remember that show.
The
Static
black
Shock
kid
is
that
the
could
show.
turn to electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
nope.
Those
Oh,
are
am I the
obscure
only
enough to
fan?
bring back.
No one responded.
DC bought him out though. Like he's like in the
so
comics.
obscure.
now.
I never heard of it. It's all
So-
about
Yeah,
Teenage
screw you,
Mutant
John.
Ninja Turtles 3. That
You know-
was good.
You know what's a movie that would be good too would be Reboot. That would be cool.
Oh, reboot.
Yeah.
Reboot,
I
Reboot.
loved Reboot. I was such a big fan of Reboot.
I think it would make sense today too with the technology buff.
Yeah, totally. Like freaking megabytes and
Yeah, but they would have to change his name because megabyte is like insignificant amounts of information.
Megabyte would be a name for a retard at this point.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
They would just have to change his name to Terabyte. Terabyte still sounds cool.
Yeah.
Like
I
Terabyte sounds
definitely-
cool. Or
Or
like
what about Petabyte?
there's a little bit of pedophile in there. The
Oh yeah, you got a point.
Terabyte is cool because you could kind of pull like terror.
Like terrorize.
Yeah, terabyte. Like
Oh, yeah.
that could be cool because megabyte
Oh
already
no,
sounded dope.
it's the terabytes.
No, terabyte is the main villain.
Well, when you say it like that,
Yeah. Well, if you say anything like that, you can like, oh no, here comes Batman. This is like,
Here
yeah,
comes them terabytes.
like the man that dresses up like a bat, but yet people take Batman very
yeah,
seriously.
what a dork.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
screw this
clearly,
Batman guy.
clearly that doesn't work. Anyway, all right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me in the stream. Thanks for everybody who joined in the stream. I'm gonna get back to work. Everybody else seems like they need to get back to work. Looks like
All right,
John
dude.
dragging a dead body into the garage. All right, cool, man.
All right, cool.
All right, peace out, man.
Later.